mind, I can see the ocean and both shores along the isthmus that separates the two great mountain chains, the island of Maui. Where the land ends, the ocean is there to meet it. Where the ocean ends is the beginning of the bluest sky. Beginnings and ends both. So often, the end of one thing is the start of something new. That is where we landed on the island of Maui, my wife Theodosia and I. On one side of the mountain is a school called Lahaina Luna, where we toiled before removing the healing. The base of that mountain is Wailuku, and the battles that we left behind. It was a sickness that caused us to leave. We had not thought such a thing so great, but it grew to that which I could not cure, and I could not endure. We left Boston in 1827. We sailed to these islands to do the work of the American Board of Commissioners of Foreign Missions. The journey was our first test of faith. Mrs. Green was the only one in our company not to feel the ill effects of the rolling sea. "All are sick but myself," she would say as she waited on all in our company. I took comfort as I lie in my berth. She would read to me hour after hour. On the onset of our journey, our ship was tossed and nearly run aground on Cape Cod. And when we reached the open ocean, we fared no better. And the Parthenon was set upon by storm and gale. It was a wondrous thing to see our tiny ship tossed to the very height of the heavens, only to be dropped to the lowest of the lows below the raging billows, wave after wave after wave. Through it all, Mrs. Green was well. In her strength, she said to me these words: "He who rides upon the stormy seas and calms the winds says, as the morning light appears, peace, be still." And it was so. We came to Maui in 1832. The sweet air of Wailuku, good prospects on either hand. Majestic mountain scenery near us to the west. The ocean, the distant okela to the east. Smiling little villages to the north and south. And never-failing streams of a sweet water rolling through a waving vegetation. All pointed to the fact that God, on his part, had done everything he could to make this the very garden of delights. How painful the reflection that man, the last and best work of God, should pollute with his sin and folly all that is fair in the works of the benevolent Creator. To make this land what God would have it, to render it in a moral point of view as equally interesting as it is in a natural state, that is the object for which we toil. We were cordially welcomed upon the station. There had never been a meeting house here, so for many weeks we worshipped on a large lanai. Great crowds gathered to hear the gospel, as many as 3,000. But after ascertaining that the gospel could be heard every Sabbath, many wearied and soon absented themselves. The school was opened July 6th, 1837. The Wailuku Female Seminary. 6 little girls were with us that day, but our numbers grew till the end of the year. We counted 42. 3 from Oahu, 4 from Molokai, 2 from Lanai, 6 from Hawaii, the rest from Maui. Our young Hawaiian misses, aged in 10 down to 4 years old. For the most part, they were content, and they showed great promise of doing well. The girls were to be educated, to be the good Christian wives of the seminarians that would graduate from Lahaina Boys' School. As such, they would learn reading and writing, arithmetic, Bible history, sewing, and with the help of Miss Maria Ogden, weaving on a loom. Our daily schedule was set to avoid all ideas of sloth and idleness, and the boarding school kept the girls from the contaminating influence of a society that neither valued nor protected their purity. Cleanliness and godliness would be the order of the day. Best of all, the girls were to learn pipe, the very foundation of life. Though prepared for difficulty, we were surprised by its form. We had a house built, 2-story, stone, cost of some $1,800. And the king had granted us a plot of land that, when brought under cultivation, would supply all the sustenance needed for our little school. Or so we had hoped. But Mrs. Green, who was so well aboard ship, was often sickly on land. Miss Ogden became my assistant. She superintended all the work, took her meals with the girls. We had not thought of commencing spinning, but Miss Ogden put 6 wheels in successful operation. Such a devout woman. We held her in such high regard, no one wore a brighter crown than Miss Ogden. And though strong in faith and welcomed in our community, we labored under many disadvantages. We had no workmen to build a cookhouse or a school, and few apparatus to run a school, very few books, no cloth. I wrote letters to Brother Anderson, Reverend Rufus Anderson, secretary of the ABCFM. I wrote him and I asked, I begged, that our little girls would not be denied the help that they needed. I have the letters. I have the letters here with me. We feel adverse to telling you precisely how things are. The debts contracted for this building were nearly paid off on the receipt of your letter. But we had nothing to carry forward for our operations. Cloth was needed for the children and to finish the rooms, which were commenced. Mr. Chamberlain, superintendent of secular affairs, refused to furnish it. We purchased nearly $80 on our own responsibility. If Mr. Chamberlain pays the $200 voted to the school, that will keep us afloat for this year. If we could have the $1,000 appropriated for this year, we could complete the building already commenced and make preparation for accommodating a new class. We need $200 or $300 to enclose the land to bring it to us to afford sustenance. We will study economy, to be assured, while at the same time do all in our power to make our little school everything that it should be. That letter did not work. Here I tried a different tact. You will rejoice with me in God's gracious dealings with His here at Wailuku, and especially with me in the boarding school. We are very happy in our work. Have now 40 interesting little girls. My heart rejoices, as will yours also, when you hear of their intelligence. Pray much for us, my dear brother, that we may be made instrumental in training up a better generation. That letter did not work. And I became more plaintive. Reverend Anderson, after all the expense which has been incurred, after obtaining as many children as we could accommodate, after raising their hopes and the hopes of their parents to retaining them till they shall become intelligent and industrious and skillful in the business pertaining to females, shall we now say to these little girls, go back to your parents, live in idleness and filth? We can do no more for you because our friends and patrons refuse to sustain the school. We cannot think for a moment that after all you have said to us on the subject of boarding schools, after learning more fully the necessity of the case, that you will not bid us abandon it. It becomes our duty to petition for further aid in carrying forward the school and making it all that it should be as a central seminary, which was the precise intention of the mission in establishing it. We never got all the help that I petitioned for. Land from the king never materialized. We persevered, Miss Green, Miss Ogden, and myself. I truly believe that hearts were open. And we were happy. Though the difficulties of finances would soon be the least of our difficulties. In 1839, a sickness swept over our school. 30 little girls had to be sent home. Some were not too sick. But the 32 who stayed were in a desperate state. They lie in their quarters. Mrs. Green was among the worst. I prayed and toiled as best I saw fit. Kaolima was very ill. Kalima, I thought she would surely die. Kiumalani was not too sick, but she would not get out of her bed. I was told by others to send the girls to sea, that somehow fresh air and leisure would cure them. God only knows. I removed all to the workroom above, and I made it a hospital. I cared for each little girl every day. Kiumalani got better. Kalima, once so deathly ill, she got better as well. Malamava, she was not long with us. Her pain and the blisters. I knew that she must be resigned to the Savior. Dear little Laya, she was like a daughter to me. She was in such a delicate state, I did not know what to do with her. She complained about sores in her mouth. I gave her a cathartic. It didn't seem to help. The next day I reapplied the powders, but the next day her pulse was nearly 100. I prayed. Well, I knew that what I needed was medical advice. I wrote to the missionary doctor, Dwight Baldwin. I pleaded with him to come to the aid of our little school. In that letter I said, Laya is worth her weight in gold. If anything can be done, I feel a great expense should be paid. A great sacrifice should be made. To close that letter, I just said, please come. The doctor did come. It would be many weeks before the sickness left our school. And Laya did get better. She went home to live with her father, though I saw her every day. But I fear that long illness had done something. She was different. Feverish, listless, and distant. It was as if something inside of her had died. Then there would be the sickness, for which there was no cure. How can you cure that which rejects the treatment and embraces the disease? I, and many of like minds, became very concerned that we were working for a church that took donations from slaveholders. On my own person, I refused to wear cotton. It was a protest against the conditions of slavery. Though, in my heart, I knew it was a small protest of one that still served an institution that was funded, in part, on the backs of enslaved labor. In 1841, I put my faith in the blessed cause of abolition. The Reverend J.A. James said of the Anti-Slavery Convention that year that he would proclaim, no august assembly had ever been held in modern times. The days of slavery are numbered. Its doom is sealed. I waited for more information. But when it became clear that there was to be no change, I once again picked up my pen and wrote to Brother Anderson. I am not happy in this relationship. I frankly say that this relation would be, as far as I can judge, a source of permanent unhappiness. I think also that I can, with the blessing of God, be more useful ultimately by casting myself upon the people to whom I minister, and with what assistance I may obtain from friends who cannot, as they say, make the board the almoner of their bounty, procure my living. I am not unwilling to be recalled from the service of the board. In fact, I think it best I should be. I prayed and I waited for an answer. When none came, I wrote this letter to the board. Having labored 14 years as a missionary to the heathen under the direction of your board, I have come to the deliberate conclusion that it is my duty to seek a dissolution of this connection. I therefore respectfully but earnestly request that you, as soon as convenient, accede to my request and give public notice that my connection with the board is, at my request, dissolved. Yours with respect, J.S. Green. To Reverend Rufus Anderson, I was a little more direct. I trust, my dear sir, that you will see fit to dismiss me at once. I have for a long time pondered my duty in relation to this subject. My mind is clearly and I trust permanently settled, and I hope that I shall be able to train up a people to sustain me and the board. This expense, if spared till general meeting, I design to give up Wailuku and seek another field. Though I may, with their advice, continue to labor until someone else can be stationed at this important work. The board accepted my resignation. No, it may not have been proper, maybe not professional. I wrote one more letter. I owe the committee many thanks for their prompt attention to my request, and for granting me what I regard as a great favor, that is, a release from my connection with the board, so long as this body maintains silence in relation to the sin of slaveholding, and so long, moreover, as they sanction the doings of their committee in passing laws and imposing them upon their missionaries without their consent. When the board shall cease to admit the gains of slaveholding, or rebuke the sin in such a public manner as shall repel those gains in a gospel way, only then shall I be ready, if desired, to re-enter the service of the ABCFM. I never returned to the board. They never asked me back. 1942, I moved to the top of a great mountain. I became the pastor of a church called Okela, a name which means the most great, or the most high. It was the Hawaiians of that congregation that accepted me, and I preached there for many years. From that vantage point, I could look down on the ocean, with its many storms and gales, its many beginnings and ends. And there, my mission was clear, as was my conscience.